you're gonna see a gun in his video, right? You go to the next one, he got a gun in his video, right? Man, you gotta dig a little deeper sometime, bro. All right, now look at his mama. His mama ain't no gangster, so how the f is he a gangster? That shit don't be adding up.
How's your relationship blossomed throughout the years?
He just, dude, crazy. He like, he just talk a lot of shit, and I just like to sit down. That's my vibe. I like when he pop that shit, man.
Yeah, Beatrice.
You know, a lot of shit that's like go on in BR. You know, a lot of the shit stem from New Orleans. You know, that's like where the real gangsters come from. That's where a lot of shit got bloody at first. That's kind of like where we learned a lot of shit from.
He a little gangster, and he laid back. And talent-wise, when I see him in the studio, he remind me like a young Thug. When Thug was young, you hear me? It's just modern time. When Thug was young, we knew he was gonna be a star.
Right.
He 20 years old. We know this little nigga, and the game is more plentiful now than it was when Thug started. I've been working with Thug 10 years now. Thug 30. NBA YoungBoy 20 years old. And there's more money in the game now than it was when Thug had started. Even though Thug did a lot, but there's more money in the game now for a young nigga like that.
Me and my motherfucking eyes, nigga, what nigga got 1 trillion streams? They wish they could. 1 trillion streams?
NBA YoungBoy just lit the internet on fire with one of the most shocking revelations hip-hop has seen in years. The target, none other than Birdman, the mogul who's been a power player in rap for decades. What started as whispers in the industry has turned into an all-out storm. Behind the scenes, rumors have swirled that Birdman wasn't just mentoring YoungBoy, he was manipulating him, using him like a pawn in a much bigger game. The breaking point came in June 2024 when DJ Academics dropped a video titled Tears of War. The moment it hit YouTube, everyone knew this wasn't just another track. It was a raw, emotional confession straight from YoungBoy's heart. You could feel the pain in every line, the kind of emotion that can't be faked. It wasn't just music, it was a declaration of war, and the timing made it even crazier. The song dropped just days before the feds raided YoungBoy's Utah home, turning his world upside down. Imagine bearing your soul to millions and then watching your freedom crumble overnight. The track hit like a warning shot, truth disguised as melody, and it had the entire rap world frozen in place. To understand how deep this betrayal cuts, you've got to look at the history. Birdman isn't some random executive. Brian Birdman Williams helped shape hip-hop itself. He built Cash Money Records from the ground up, discovered Lil Wayne, and helped turn Drake and Nicki Minaj into global icons. His influence runs deep, from the New Orleans streets to the top of Billboard charts. So when he set his sights on YoungBoy back in 2018, it wasn't just another signing, it was a generational move. At that time, YoungBoy was the most talked about new artist in the game. His music blended pain, trauma, and survival like a diary written in rhythm. Every song felt real, too real, and the industry didn't know what to do with him. Legal troubles followed him everywhere, and labels were exhausted trying to manage his chaos. That's when Birdman swooped in like a savior, calling YoungBoy the next big thing. He compared him to a young Lil Wayne and told the world the future of rap was already here. For a kid from Baton Rouge who grew up in the struggle, those words meant everything. Birdman spoke about loyalty, family, and legacy, things YoungBoy had been searching for his whole life. The OG stepped in with that calm, fatherly energy, promising to guide him, protect him, and turn him into a legend. And for a while, it looked like it was working. Their chemistry on tracks like We Poppin' was undeniable. The Old King and the New Prince, both from Louisiana, bridging generations through sound. But things started to feel off when their joint project From the Bayou finally dropped in 2021.
NBA YoungBoy might be the biggest rapper. I said that 5 years ago.
What you mean big when you say big?
Ain't no be bigger than NBA YoungBoy. Numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
He's the biggest YouTube artist right now in the world. And he behind.
Fans noticed something strange. It felt like a solo YoungBoy project with Birdman's name tacked on. The energy wasn't balanced, and Birdman's presence was minimal. The whispers started again. Was this genuine mentorship or another Cash Money power play? Old wounds reopened. People remembered what happened between Birdman and Lil Wayne. The lawsuits, the royalty disputes, the broken promises. Wayne had spent years fighting to get what was rightfully his, eventually suing Birdman for $51 million. And if you listen closely to Wayne's lyrics, he'd been warning others about Birdman for years. When he said, "Watch how they move," he wasn't being cryptic, he was speaking from experience. But when you're young, ambitious, and desperate for someone to believe in you, those warnings don't always hit. YoungBoy trusted Birdman completely. He believed he'd finally found someone who saw him as more than just controversy and numbers. Unfortunately, the same playbook was being used again. The promises, the emotional control, the business moves that didn't quite make sense. By 2023, cracks began to show. Birdman's loyalty started to feel conditional. The business deals more about control than mentorship. And when YoungBoy found himself trapped under house arrest, facing serious charges, that's when the truth started hitting hard. The calls got shorter, the promises faded, and the family talk disappeared. The man who claimed to be his protector suddenly felt like the one pulling the strings all along. That betrayal became the heartbeat of Tears of War. The song wasn't a diss, it was a confession. It was pain turned into poetry, rage turned into reflection. When YoungBoy rapped about being used by someone he once admired, it wasn't just Birdman he was calling out, it was an entire system that preys on broken young artists looking for guidance. The moment he referenced Carter, fans instantly connected the dots.
But I'm just saying, when that little boy get his mind right, and he come from under this bull and understand who he is, cause you know, Thug and all them, they up in age, they 30, it's 20.
But you think that going through ain't doing that but helping him to his path to do that?
Of course, yeah. They ain't making them nothing but a monster.
That was Lil Wayne, the same Wayne who had already lived this nightmare and tried to warn him. This realization hit harder than any punchline. For YoungBoy, it wasn't about money anymore. It was about betrayal, about realizing that the loyalty he'd built his world around was never real. He'd been groomed to believe he was part of a legacy, only to find out he was just another piece on a chessboard. That's what made Tears of War so powerful. It wasn't crafted for clout or headlines, it was therapy. You could hear a man reclaiming his voice after years of being manipulated by the industry. The beat was dark and haunting, like it carried the weight of every broken promise he'd endured. Every verse cut deeper, exposing not just Birdman, but the darker side of hip-hop's mentorship culture, the one that sells love and loyalty while cashing checks behind closed doors. When the song dropped, the culture went silent for a moment, then it exploded. Fans, critics, and artists all had the same reaction. This was bigger than music. YoungBoy had done what most rappers never do. He admitted he'd been played, and he turned that pain into power. It's a rare moment when vulnerability hits harder than bravado, when truth outweighs fame. Tears of War wasn't just a record, it was a reckoning. A young man from the trenches standing up against one of the most powerful figures in hip-hop history, saying the one thing nobody ever says out loud, that sometimes the people who promise to build you up are the same ones breaking you down. You could feel every ounce of isolation, fear, and heartbreak in Tears of War. It wasn't just a song anymore, it was the sound of someone bleeding truth after being betrayed by the one person he trusted most. When you listen to it knowing the full story, it hits on a different level. It's not rap, it's revelation. NBA YoungBoy had always worn Louisiana pride like armor. He carried the spirit of Baton Rouge and the energy of New Orleans.
So you want to make a video dancing around like a ballerina, and then you got a man on his knees smoking a crack pipe, and you're saying Cantrell is evil and he's a bad influence. So you want to go and put that man on his knees and put a crack pipe in his mouth on a video, right? Okay, fine. I bet they have another video with that same pussy-ass nigga on his knees sucking your pipe. Your head look like a penis without a rubber on top of it. But yet, you want to sit here and try to talk about somebody. You better be lucky I can't say what I want to say on Instagram.
The same city that made Birdman a legend. That's what made this fallout so painful. The man he once saw as a hero from his own soil ended up teaching him one of life's cruelest lessons. Betrayal always cuts deepest when it comes from family. The rawest part of Tears of War wasn't just the bars, it was the vulnerability behind them. YoungBoy didn't hide behind ego or anger. He opened up about something most rappers never do, emotional need. You could tell how much he craved real guidance, someone to believe in him beyond the charts and the chaos. Birdman had stepped into that role, calling him son, making him believe they were building something solid. But the deeper the trust grew, the more it seemed Birdman was pulling strings for his own gain. That realization realization shattered YoungBoy. What made it worse was the emotional weight tied to the betrayal. This wasn't about a manager who messed up a deal, it was about someone he loved like blood. That's what gives the song its sting. You can hear it in the way his voice cracks between verses, that disbelief that someone he admired could turn out to be the very person holding him back. The betrayal wasn't only emotional, it hit the bank too. YoungBoy hinted that Birdman had promised huge business deals and life-changing contracts that never came through. The fans who've been watching this game long enough immediately recognized the pattern. It was deja vu, almost identical to the way Birdman allegedly handled Lil Wayne years earlier. Millions missing, promises broken, and silence when the money questions came up. When YoungBoy dropped those lines, it wasn't just about his own pain, it was about history repeating itself. The next generation was learning the same hard lesson Wayne had tried to warn him about. The only difference this time was that YoungBoy turned that pain into art instead of court papers. The most haunting thing about Tears of War is its tone. There's no flexing, no aggression, just sadness. You can tell this wasn't made to start beef. It was made to release pain. It feels like a grieving process more than a diss track, a goodbye letter to someone who was supposed to protect him, but chose to control him instead.
YoungBoy is so hot right now, if you're gonna spend time dissing him, it better be in a song, and it better be a hit. Because here's the thing, all eyes are on YoungBoy, and all eyes will be on you, but only the first time you diss him. Oh shit, he tagged him too. He tagged him. Oh, so this is definitely meant to be a diss.
Never fit to shoot. Just a nigga with emotion, a red fair bitch.
And then came the part that made everyone's jaw drop. YoungBoy didn't just suggest Birdman betrayed him in business. He hinted that the control went way deeper into his personal life, his relationships, and his emotions. The lyrics painted a picture of manipulation that went beyond contracts. It felt like he was describing someone who wanted full control, not just of his music, but of his mind. That turned the story from sad to chilling. It stopped being about business betrayal and started being about power. Tears of War showed how loyalty can be turned into a weapon. Birdman wasn't just a mentor in YoungBoy's story, he'd become a symbol of what happens when guidance turns into dominance. When YoungBoy flipped Wayne's old warning into a new message, it hit like a thunderclap. That single reference connected 2 generations of artists scarred by the same man. The love, the we family forever talk, the endless promises, it all followed the same script. Birdman had once built empires by lifting artists up, but the whisper said he'd learned to keep them dependent too. The production matched the message perfectly. The beat was stripped bare, slow, haunting, and heavy. Piano chords echoed like memories he couldn't escape. Every pause in his delivery felt intentional. Every breath carried weight. You could tell this wasn't written to impress, it was written to release. These weren't verses, they were confessions. When the song dropped, the shockwaves reached every corner of the industry. Executives, producers, and even rival artists started whispering. Not about clout or numbers, but about what the track revealed. If what YoungBoy said was true, Birdman wasn't just an OG, he was the architect of a cycle that exploited young artists' trust for decades. And it wasn't like this was new information. Other artists who had worked with Birdman before had told similar stories, promises that faded, checks that never cleared, relationships that felt more like control than collaboration. The whispers had always been there. Tears of War just forced everyone to stop pretending they didn't hear them. Then came Birdman's silence. No response, no diss, no podcast rant, nothing. For a man who's always had something to say, that quiet hit hard. It spoke louder than any track could. Some said he stayed silent because the truth was too real to argue with. Others believed he knew any response would only prove YoungBoy's point. Either way, the silence said everything. The culture's reaction split in two. Half of the hip-hop world stood behind YoungBoy, praising him for his honesty and courage. They saw Tears of War as more than a song, it was a protest. A moment where a young artist finally said out loud what others had been afraid to. The other half said he crossed the line, airing private business in public and disrespecting the code of loyalty. But even they couldn't deny how raw it felt. The pain was undeniable. That's what made Tears of War so haunting. It blurred the line between personal pain and cultural reckoning. It forced everyone in the game to ask a hard question. When does mentorship stop being protection and start becoming possession? Because hip-hop has always lived in that gray area. Every generation has its father figures and proteges, its mentors and apprentices. But for every artist who got guidance, there's another who got played. Behind every promise of family lurks the risk of control, contracts that bind tighter than love, deals that trade trust for obedience. YoungBoy's story peeled back that truth. It showed what happens when loyalty becomes currency, when the very people who claim to save you are the ones keeping you from freedom. The industry has always celebrated mentorship, but Tears of War reminded everyone that even mentorship can be a mask. This wasn't just another rap beef, it was an awakening. YoungBoy wasn't trying to burn bridges, he was trying to reclaim his name, his narrative, and his freedom. He wanted people to see the human behind the headlines, the young man who gave everything for loyalty and got betrayal in return. In the end, Tears of War did what few songs ever do. It made the entire culture stop and reflect. It wasn't about numbers or virality, it was about truth. It put a mirror up to the game and asked everyone, who's really guiding who? Because if history keeps repeating itself, maybe the problem isn't the artist, it's the system that keeps feeding on their pain. And as YoungBoy's voice faded on that final verse, it left a silence that spoke louder than any beat could. A silence heavy with truth, legacy, and the reminder that in hip-hop, loyalty can build empires, but when it's broken, it can destroy them just as fast. This final act in the Birdman, YoungBoy saga felt like the closing chapter of a long, painful story that somehow found peace. Tears of War wasn't just another diss, it was a turning point. The kind of track that makes both the artist and the audience stop and think. It peeled back the layers of fame, loyalty, and betrayal, exposing the ugly side of mentorship when it turns into manipulation. For YoungBoy, it was more than music. It was therapy wrapped in melody, a confession that told the world he had finally learned to see through the game. The track hit like an emotional earthquake. You could hear the exhaustion, the reflection, and the maturity in his voice. Instead of doubling down on anger, he admitted where he went wrong, trusting someone too deeply, ignoring the red flags, believing in the legend more than the lesson. And that's what made Tears of War special. It didn't come from a place of revenge, but from realization. That's why fans didn't just listen, they felt it. Then came the silence. No Birdman response, no dramatic press run, just stillness. And in the world of hip-hop, silence can speak louder than any diss track. The blogs went crazy, theories spread like wildfire. Was Birdman plotting a response, or had YoungBoy's words actually hit home? For months, there was nothing. No confirmation, no denial, just a strange quiet that made everyone wonder if something deeper was happening behind the scenes. By the middle of 2025, whispers started circulating. Birdman and YoungBoy were finally talking again. Fans couldn't believe it. The two men who had publicly clashed were now trying to mend things privately. When the meeting finally took place in New Orleans, it wasn't about contracts or publicity, it was about closure. Two men, sitting across from each other, finally confronting the pain that fame and pride had buried. That meeting was a turning point. Those who were there said it was raw and emotional. No cameras, no entourage, no industry politics, just honesty. It wasn't an instant fix, but it planted the seed of forgiveness. Both realized they'd played a role in what went wrong. Birdman had to face the reality that his business decisions had hurt people who trusted him, while YoungBoy had to process the pain of feeling betrayed.
A lot of that's like go on in the yard, you know, a lot of this stem from New Orleans. You know, that's like where the real gangsters come from. That's where a lot of shit got bloody at first. It's kind of like where we learned a lot of shit
by someone he once saw as family. Then, in October 2025, the unthinkable happened. Birdman showed up at YoungBoy's concert unannounced. The crowd lost it. When YoungBoy called him to the stage to perform We Poppin', it wasn't just nostalgia, it was history. Two men who had been at odds for years now standing side by side, performing the song that once symbolized their bond. Cameras flashed, fans screamed, and in that moment, everything else faded. That clip went viral within minutes, proving that peace can make just as much noise as war. Behind the scenes, though, the reunion wasn't just emotional, it was strategic. Birdman wasn't coming back to replay old moves, he was stepping in to guide YoungBoy through the next chapter of his career. He started traveling with him during the Make America Slime Again tour, helping him make smart business moves and avoid the traps that had derailed so many young stars. This wasn't just mentorship, it was redemption. When Birdman started hinting about a $300 to $400 million tour deal for YoungBoy, it became clear this partnership was bigger than music. The same man who had built empires with Lil Wayne and Drake was now pouring that experience into YoungBoy's career. It was a new era, one built on mutual respect and clear boundaries. YoungBoy had learned how to protect himself, not just emotionally, but financially. And Birdman learned something too, that mentorship isn't just about control or profit, it's about guidance, communication, and growth. For Birdman, this was also personal. After years of strained relationships with artists like Wayne, he finally seemed ready to evolve. Clips began circulating of him speaking openly about his late mother and promising to do right by those he cares about. That vulnerability hit differently. It showed a man trying to rewrite his story, to fix what fame and ego had once broken. By the end of 2025, the narrative had shifted completely. Birdman's reputation got a second wind, and YoungBoy was thriving again, focused, mature, and in control. Their relationship had transformed from mentor and protege to equals. It was proof that reconciliation in hip-hop isn't just possible, it can be powerful. Rumors started flying about From the Bayou 2, a sequel to their 2021 project. Fans flooded social media with excitement, posting countdowns, memes, and edits. It wasn't just about the music, it was about seeing two men who had grown through pain come together to create again. If the album really happens, it'll be more than a collab, it'll be a symbol of rebirth and second chances. At its core, their story became a mirror for the entire culture. It showed that real strength isn't in endless beefs or viral drama, it's in facing your mistakes, forgiving, and evolving. The hip-hop world, built on pride and power, rarely gets to see that kind of growth. But Birdman and YoungBoy broke that cycle. They proved that manhood isn't about revenge, it's about resolution. Their journey from mentorship to betrayal to peace became a lesson for anyone chasing greatness. Protect your energy, know your worth, and never be too proud to make things right. Because at the end of the day, fame fades, money comes and goes, but respect and growth, those last forever. Their reconciliation wasn't just a headline, it was a message, a reminder that in a culture obsessed with chaos, healing is still possible. And maybe, just maybe, that's the real legacy they'll leave behind.